The earth is quiet behind you now, a glowing orb wrapped in blue breath. You float gently away, weightless, untethered, yet still held by invisible threads. There's no wind here, no sound, only the soft rhythm of your breath and the deep hush of forever. Ahead of you, a shadow moves, slowly, steadily, an asteroid. Not the kind that crashes into worlds, but the kind that waits. It spins, ancient and untouched, a drifting vault of forgotten time. It doesn't call out, yet it pulls you closer, not with gravity, but with mystery. This is not a planet. It is not a moon. It is a whisper of something older, something quieter, a remnant, a beginning. As your eyes adjust to the dark, you begin to see them, hundreds, thousands of rocks, all sizes and shapes, orbiting invisibly. Some pass close. Some shine with metallic glints. Others are cloaked in dust and shadow. They are not lifeless. They are sleeping. Each asteroid holds clues, not just about minerals, but about memory, traces of water, elements forged in stars. The iron in your blood once danced in places like this. You are not visiting them. You are returning in silence. You listen, not with ears, but with attention. The stillness speaks. The motion hums, and something inside you stirs, a question. What if humanity reached out, not to conquer, but to collaborate? What if we built among the stars, slow, thoughtful, kind? It's small, maybe the size of a large house, but it gleams with veins of metal. It has no name, but it has potential. Asteroids, your mind floats with possibilities. Not of mining alone, but of meaning, of reshaping how life extends itself. What if space was not an escape, but an extension of Earth's breath, a way to grow without harming home? You drift closer to the asteroid, and sensors awaken. A faint scan hums across the surface, painting a gentle map in your mind. Pockets of nickel, hints of water, a touch of platinum, rare on Earth, common. Here, there is no greed in the scan, only curiosity. The rock surface is uneven, dust layering metal, metal hiding story. Some parts sparkle, others crumble. You imagine a robot arm brushing the dust away, not harshly, but like a hand uncovering a fossil. Each scrape, each touch, is a note in an unfolding song. In the stillness, time feels slower. You picture how these rocks formed, shattered pieces of ancient collisions. Once part of moons, of protoplanets, of dreams that never grew large enough to be worlds. Now they drift, not failed, just waiting. Your breath slows with the thought, and suddenly the void does not feel empty. It feels full, not with noise, but with potential, with quiet permission. You remember the stories of early sailors on Earth, gazing at stars as they crossed oceans toward unknown lands. Their ships were wood. Your ships are algorithms and alloys, but the calling is the same. You have not come to claim. You have come to listen and to ask gently if you may stay a while. And perhaps, just perhaps, begin again, not on soil, but in stardust. You imagine the future as a slow unfolding, not with fireworks, but with careful hands. A robotic harvester floats nearby, no larger than a suitcase. It hums softly, tracing magnetic veins beneath the asteroid's skin. Its tools do not dig, they coax. A thermal pulse loosens grains. A scoop gathers fragments like petals from a frozen blossom. Each piece is stored not as spoil, but as potential. Far above, a satellite relays the data, not to a single nation, but to a web of watchers, scientists, dreamers, planners. The asteroid is not owned. It is shared, studied, remembered. You wonder, will the first structures in space resemble buildings at all? Or will they be quiet shells of unfolding metal, unmanned but alive with purpose, blossoming like silver flowers in orbit? Maybe one day people will live among these rocks, not underground, but above everything. Carving no scars, only stories. But for now, there is just you, drifting near a rock older than language. And all around you, the silence waits not for conquest, but for communion. In the dust, beneath your gaze, lies iron and ice, a beginning, not born from earth, but from everything before it. You reach out, not with your hand, but with your attention. And as your sensors blink once more, you begin to sense the treasure within, not just in what the asteroid holds, but in what it quietly remembers. You hover gently beside another asteroid, darker this time. Its surface is pitted and fractured like dried earth after a storm. But this is no ruin. It is raw history. Inside this small world lie the ancient bones of stars your instruments hum. With curiosity, beneath the crust, something calls, a denser core, metallic, glinting even in shadow. Iron, nickel, maybe even platinum. These elements didn't form here, drifting in the dark. They were forged long ago, inside the heart of something vast, a protoplanet that never became whole. You imagine it, a planet in making, caught in the chaos of early solar birth, pulled apart by collisions, scattered across space. Its remains still drifting, patient, precise, unclaimed. This asteroid, then, is more than rock. It is memory. It is the raw material of worlds that never came to be. You reach out with sensors, gentle as breath. The readings confirm what ancient math had guessed. This one is mostly metal, a fragment of a planetary core. Stripped bare and drifting alone, you feel its density in your instruments, as if the asteroid has gravity beyond. Its size, not because of mass alone, but because of meaning. For centuries, these bodies were just dots of light in a telescope. Now they are stories waiting to be read. Iron, you learn, is not rare in the universe, but concentrated iron, unmixed, is a rarity. Platinum group metals, ruthenium, osmium, iridium, are born in the violence of supernovas and neutron star collisions, and somehow here they are, nestled in silence just beneath the surface, waiting for no one in particular, yet holding enough value to remake economies. But the value is not just in wealth, it is in utility. These metals are tools. They conduct electricity, they resist corrosion, they anchor civilization. Imagine a ring of satellites built with asteroid iron. Imagine microchips crafted in orbit. Their rare elements never touched by Earth's gravity. The possibilities drift before you like stars. And yet, there is still silence. These treasures do not call out. They only wait. Your thoughts turn now to how these asteroids formed. Not all are metallic. Some are chondritic, stony, primitive, never melted. They are the oldest matter in the solar system, cosmic fossils. Others are carbonaceous, black as soot, rich in organics and water. Yes, even here, in the vacuum. Some asteroids carry the ingredients of life. You picture one of them splitting open under soft impact, releasing molecules that seeded a newborn planet. Maybe even Earth. These thoughts settle into you like dust, quiet and ancient. Asteroids are not just targets. They are witnesses. They've seen the sun ignite. They've passed comets flaring like fireflies. They've drifted untouched for 4 billion years until now. And here you are, not with greed, but with wonder. What do you take from something so old? What do you owe it in return? Asterisk, you drift away from the asteroid you've examined, and you begin the slow dance of departure. Space does not rush you. It grants distance and quiet grace. You guide your vesselor, your attention back toward Earth's orbit, not with haste, but with the rhythm of orbital mechanics. Your path curves, a gentle arc around Earth, then outward again, like a crescent sweeping across a dark sky. Each move is precise, measured in meters per second, timed for gravitational tugs and solar pushes. This is not travel as you know it. It is an exchange with gravity. Every push forward requires a pullback from Earth's hold. Every burn of thruster costs. Every adjustment must be planned. You think of ancient sailors who mapped stars to cross oceans. They needed currents, they needed wind, and they learned to dance with them. Your ship needs orbits, uses slingshots around Earth or Mars. You ride invisible highways made of gravity and protocol. There is no autopilot ignorance here. Every calculation matters. Delta V, transfer windows, synodic periods, moments when Earth, asteroid, sun align just enough for your trajectory to meet without collision. Each window opens only briefly hours, maybe days. If the timing shifts, you wait. You conserve fuel. You adjust. Patience becomes part of the technology as you drift. The sun warms one side of your craft softly. The other side is cold in shadow. This temperature difference registers on your skin or your sensors. This cosmic breeze flows without air. You pass invisible checkpoints like range points where gravity balances. Here, ships can wait, drifting gently, not orbiting Earth nor the sun, but paused in cosmic, gentle stasis. It is a quiet way station on a silent route. Between those points and the asteroid lies the deep dark, a stretch where communication lags and autonomy must guide you. Your craft makes small decisions, just course, avoids debris, monitors the solar wind's magnetic breath. You lean into the rhythm of data. Telemetry arrives, not continuously, but in slow packets, a pulse of information that you follow. You are not pushing buttons fast. You are listening and coaxing the craft onward. You watch modeled lines of trajectory, curves that swirl past other asteroids, past Martian orbit, past Goldilocks distance and beyond. It feels like a web unspooling, a careful plan laid across emptiness, and as you curve inward toward your target asteroid, you feel time stretch. Each hour expands into thought. Each adjustment becomes meditation. You imagine centuries of asteroids still drifting while missions plan, delay, launch, and launch again. This journey is slow by human standards, but fast compared to planetary drift. You realize, reaching, one needs precision in more than meters. It needs patience in more than hours. It needs harmony with fuel limitations, with windows, with unexpected solar flares. A sudden micrometeoroid impact is possible. A cosmic ray spike, a minor comet, fragment on a near miss. Your instruments detect dust trails trailing from distant comets. You adjust to avoid them, not like dodging bullets, but like sidestepping a whisper carried on a breeze. You breathe, and you remember that even Earth's atmosphere shields you from particles that your craft now must avoid. Here, every ounce of protection must come from design, not gravity. Gradually, the asteroid grows larger in your view. A tiny speck becomes a rotating world. Its motion is gentle but steady. You synchronize your orbit to match its tempo, waiting for the moment when you hover just above its rock in the final approach. Your engines whisper soft pulses, nudging your speed until you match the asteroids. Rotation. The rock beneath you pulses with concentric lines, impact scars, regolith shifts, veins of metal. You hover there now, not landed, not yet, but aligned. Your heart or your awareness beats slow. Getting here wasn't just travel. It was translation from Earth's turn to this asteroid's spin, from Earth's time to solar system drift. You look back at the stars. There is a faint ribbon of light. Earth's blue haze recedes. You are neither home nor lost. You are in between. In this delicate alignment lies the promise of contact, a bridge formed not of cables or corridors, but of trajectory and timing. You take a moment to rest, to collect measurements, to prepare for descent, and as you ready your instruments, you wonder what the surface will feel like. Will it be firm, fragile, flat, steep? Will you anchor with screws, or magnet, or clasp? These questions await, and soon you will make the first true touch. You close your eyes, or rather, let your mind rest. And in the dark, behind your eyelids, you imagine reaching gently into the past and holding a piece of everything that could have been. There is more to learn, not just from their composition, their layers, their fractures, their quiet scars. The asteroid is not uniform. It is patchwork, iron here, silicate there, like a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces. Each crevice holds a story. Some asteroids may be solid. Others are loose piles of rubble, barely held together. You realize, even in the vacuum, gravity has its gentle hands. Sometimes it binds broken things together. Sometimes it lets them drift. And so, you drift to past shadows and mineral veins. Past impact marks 1,000,000 years old, past everything familiar. And yet, you feel grounded. In orbit, in awe, this asteroid, like thousands of others, carries not just value, but warning. A reminder that the universe is built on collisions, on creation born from destruction. In every twisted shard, in every heavy fragment, you see the past and the blueprint of what's next. You float backward now, letting the asteroid shrink in your view. It does not wave, but it does remember, and as you begin your journey toward another object, you wonder what else they carry, not just in mass or in metal, but in meaning. What does it mean to extract from something that has never asked to be? Touched, what ethics orbit these silent treasures? You drift on into the next question. You hover above the asteroid, your craft aligned with its slow rotation. There's no breeze to announce descent, no gravity to soften the landing. Instead, there is careful engineering, small bursts, a tether drawn out, a grappling clamp positioned. You feel the approach as a breath, measured, minimal, necessary. Your instruments hum softly, mapping surface topology, micro craters, fine regolith, shimmering veins of metal glinting faintly in sunlight. It is not rough. It is subtle. As the contact arm extends, your heart or your awareness leans in. The tip brushes dust that floats like mist in microgravity. No sound, no shock. Only a gentle clasp, like fingertips meeting after long separation. You anchors, low, deliberate, exacting, dot in that touch. Something shifts. The craft is no longer separate. It becomes part of the surface's rhythm. Tiny particles lift as the anchor clamps. Dust drifts upward in curving streams, curls a fine grit gliding away into darkness. It feels like witnessing the first fall of snow in forever. You record pressure. Feedback, almost nothing, less than a feather's weight. This rock does not grasp you. You hold it instead, suspended in partnership. The next step is collection. Robotic arms sweep gently across surfaces. Brushes made of soft filaments cradle grains. Scoops with magnetic coatings pull in metal flecks. Lasers vaporize, micro samples yielding spectral data without excavation. You watch the sample ports fill not with chunks, but with intent. Each grain is a note, each piece a history. Together, they form a chorus of what the asteroid is, a silence-made material. Above you, the miniature. Laboratory hums. Sensors bathe in soft light. Cameras spin. Robotic arms collaborate. Precise and patient. There's no hurry, no upheaval. You imagine if Earth mining looked the same. No explosions, no dust clouds, no scars, just slow collection. Gentle retrieval of pieces with respect. The sample ports hold iron, silicate, trace water, ice. Your instruments read composition. Isotopic age, solar wind exposure. This asteroid is ancient for billion years or more. It has drifted longer than continents have moved. Its veins formed before anything ever lived. But in this silent touch, you bring knowledge, not conquest. You ask questions. How did its core form? What solar storms changed its skin? Has its surface ever held water? Is it rich in rare metals or shallow in substance? Every answer arrives softly through numbers, through light intensity readings, through electromagnetic fingerprints. You pause, drifting above the surface, instruments idle for a moment. Above, a dim star cluster shines faintly. Earth is invisible now, no light, no connection except through memory. At this moment, the asteroid becomes more than object. It becomes partner, a collaborator in ancient memory. Your heart stills, not because you cannot move, because you choose not to. You hold respect for the untouched world beneath. You begin deploying sensors, small probes that will stay tethered. They send readings back to waiting stations. Temperature fluctuation, micrometeorite impacts, solar wind sputter. This is living. Data from a world without life. And then you perform the final act of first contact. A small capsule releases a miniature rover. It rolls or hovers on to the surface. Its tracks leave shallow trails in loose regolith. It lights a lamp. It records. It breathes. You watch its progress in silence. It climbs. It turns. It records metal pockets. It radios home confirmation of high-grade iron and nickel. You exhale. You sense deeply. The moment is complete. Touch is made. Samples are secured. Contact is held without strain. This landing is not the end. It is the opening of a dialogue between human curiosity and cosmic silence, between ambition and humility. As the rover continues its slow survey, your craft drifts back. You are no longer above an alien rock. You are within a story, one that began 4 billion years ago, one that continues now, softly, in every packet of data transmitted, one that will carry onward as more missions touch more rocks. You prepare to depart. Instruments stow, tethers retract. You lift off slowly. The asteroid shrinks beneath you as you drift away. Dust drifts upward, trailing in your wake. You feel again the hollow vastness of space, but now with presence. You have touched what was untouched, and something inside you shifts, not just knowledge, but a quiet affirmation that humanity can reach and still respect, can build without breaking, can live without taking away. You glide toward the next waypoint. Sensors readjust. Trajectory resets. Your target, a stony, carbonaceous asteroid, far ahead. There is more to learn about what water might hold, about life's seeds drifting in dust and ice. Asterisk, you drift alongside the machine. It doesn't walk, doesn't roar, doesn't strike the ground with force. It hovers, it hums. Like a patient sculptor of dust, it extends a limb, not made of flesh, but of slender metal, toward the asteroid's fractured surface. You are not watching miners. You are watching dancers. They move in silence, not with grace born of muscle, but with grace born of calculation. Tiny thrusters hiss, adjusting their position by whispers. Their arms unfold with slow, deliberate arcs. Their sensors blink, not in confusion, but in knowing. This is mining without hands. No boots in the soil. No soot on the face. Just autonomous companions orbiting stone. Programmed to extract value from vacuum. Beneath you floats the asteroid, a slow, tumbling relic of the solar system's childhood. Its surface is not firm. It is porous, powdered. You cannot stomp upon it. It would rise to meet you like a dream disturbed. It is a body not of ground, but of drift. And so the machines drift with it. They do not land with weight. They anchor with harpoons, with static charges, with clever hooks and tiny claws. They adjust to the asteroid's gentle spin, synchronizing like skybound acrobats. They map the terrain with LiDAR and light, learning where to touch and where not to. And then they begin. A focused laser melts surface ice into vapor. A spinning drum scoops pebbles into its belly. A magnetic rake combs for flecks of iron, tiny stardust caught in time. Nothing here moves quickly. There is no rush, no urgency, only persistence, because in space, haste is not efficient. Precision is . These robots are surgeons, not laborers. They peel away layers of ancient dust. Each grain removed is a grain analyzed. Each particle is a question answered. What are you? Where did you form? What do you hold? Your breath matches the rhythm of their work. Slow, intentional, quiet, and still they speak. Not in words, but in data. A stream of information flows back to Earth. Minerals, mass, structure, behavior. The robots are far from home, but they are never alone. They are eyes, hands, hearts extended from their creators. Built not for war, not for spectacle, but for the slow wonder of understanding. They do not drill. They resonate. Some use sonic pulses, gentle vibrations that probe what lies beneath. Others deploy microwave beams, warming rock to release the molecules trapped inside. And when they gather, ENOUGH, not in tons, but in teaspoons, they store it in belly-shaped containers. Ready to return, sometimes they don't bring it back. Sometimes the factory is already here. A small furnace floats nearby, not on Earth, not grounded, but suspended in nothing. It melts metals under vacuum, separates elements like dreams from memory. It is not science fiction. It is science. Slowed, The dream of asteroid mining does not explode. It unfolds. You see it now. Not a mine, but a garden. Not ravaged ground, but floating orchards, harvested with care. One machine extracts platinum from a carbon-rich stone. Another collects regolith powdered rock to 3D print new tools in orbit. Nothing is wasted. Everything is watched. There is no shouting, no sirens, no smoke, just the low hum of electricity, the faint glow of solar panels, the quiet dance of intention. In zero gravity, friction vanishes, so mining becomes motion itself. Robots leap gently from surface to surface. They avoid collision not by strength, but by choreography. Each knows the path of the others. Each reacts in kind. If two machines meet, they pause, like dancers catching their breath. Then part again. You begin to wonder, what is labor without bodies? What is work when it leaves no footprint? You think of earth, of mines dug deep into soil, of machines growling through rock. You think of hands blistered, lives spent, and you think of this, a ballet among the stars. But even this grace comes with questions. Who controls these machines? Who reaps the reward? Can quiet industry still carry noise, the noise of greed, of haste? You do not answer, not yet, because in this moment you are simply watching. Watching as a silver spider drifts toward a metal-rich fragment. Watching as its limbs unfold like petals. Watching as it gently peels back cosmic time. The robot sends a pulse, a shimmer of light across the rock. A shadow returns, a hint of buried vein. It adjusts. It moves in dot, and now your gaze softens. You no longer see a machine. You see a story of intelligence, of patience, of hope, extended far from home. You close your eyes for a moment. The stars remain. The hum continues. Here, in this drifting stillness, you realize progress is not always loud. Sometimes it is a whisper that echoes in metal, and as you float alongside the miners that never sleep, you feel the shape of a new kind of industry, one that listens more than it digs, one that waits, one that leaves the sky intact. You breathe, slowly, matching the pulse of orbit, and just beyond the frame of your vision, something glints, something clear, not metal, not dust, but frost, a glimmer of ice nestled in shadow. And now, the machines begin to turn toward it, not to mine, but to understand asterisk. You picture the slow unfolding of technology, not aggressive, not extractive, but curious. Tools that sense rather than slice, heat that coaxes rather than consumes. In this vacuum, noise is rare. The work must be gentle, even. Steam expands with grace. The dream of space was once rockets and fire. But here it becomes something softer, a discipline of patience. It is not conquest, it is communion. Between ancient stone and newborn intention, a question forms in your mind like a quiet ripple. Why chase water in the void, when oceans already surround us on Earth? But Earth's gravity is both blessing and burden. Lifting each drop from its embrace is an act of violence. Tons of thrust for ounces of liquid. Yet here, in these orbiting bones of failed planets, water waits already free. No wells to dig, no aquifers to poison. Just frozen time, drifting where we can reach it with light and care. The ice on asteroids may never be clean, never pristine. It may be laced with ammonia, with metal grains, with memories of radiation. But it can be purified, it can be reborn. Space doesn't offer perfection, only potential. You think now of comets, their long luminous tails, their frozen hearts, cousins to asteroids, sculpted by the same cosmic processes. In their eyes lies the fingerprint of the early solar system, the same molecules that may have seeded Earth itself. Perhaps this is not just mining. Perhaps it is reunion, gathering the scattered parts of a story that began before planets formed. And somewhere in that idea, quiet but persistent, is the sense that water may be the bridge between stars and settlement, between distance and belonging. You imagine a tether of missions from Earth to Moon to Asteroid, each one feeding the next. Not with profit, but with presence, with possibility, with the raw material for breath. And hope. In the darkness, a droplet of water floats, released from rock by warmth. It glistens in the faint sunlight, perfectly round, silent, suspended. It is not much, not enough to drink. But it is a beginning. Asterisk, you picture the slow unfolding of technology, not extractive, but curious. Tools that sense, rather than slice. Heat that coaxes, rather than consumes. In this vacuum, noise is rare. The work must be gentle. Even steam expands with grace. The dream of space was once rockets and fire. But here it becomes something softer, a discipline of patience. It is not conquest. Between ancient stone and newborn intention, a question forms in your mind like a quiet ripple. Why chase water in the void, when oceans already surround us on Earth? But Earth's gravity is both blessing and burden. Lifting each drop from its embrace is an act of violence. Tons of thrust for ounces of liquid. Yet here, in these orbiting bones of failed planets, water waits already free. No wells to dig, no aquifers to poison. Just frozen time drifting where we can reach it with light and care. The ice on asteroids may never be clean, never pristine. It may be laced with ammonia, with metal grains, with memories of radiation. But it can be purified. It can be reborn. Space doesn't offer perfection, only potential. You think now of comets, their long, luminous tails, their frozen hearts, cousins to asteroids, sculpted by the same cosmic processes. In their eyes lies the fingerprint of the early solar system, the same molecules that may have seeded Earth itself. Perhaps this is not just mining. Perhaps it is reunion, gathering the scattered parts of a story that began before planets formed. And somewhere in that idea, quiet but persistent, is the sense that water may be the bridge between stars and settlement, between distance and belonging. You imagine a tether of missions from Earth to Moon to Asteroid, each one feeding the next. Not with profit, but with presence, with possibility, with the raw material for breath. And hope. In the darkness, a droplet of water floats, released from rock by warmth. It glistens in the faint sunlight, perfectly round, silent, suspended. It is not much, not enough to drink, but it is a beginning. Asterisk, you begin this chapter with a slow turn of perspective. Imagine Earth behind you, not beneath, but distant now, blue and turning, familiar and small. It is not gone, only quieter. From here, you no longer think about gravity as a given. You think about it as a tether and wonder what it means to loosen it. Above the Earth, in the velvet hush of low orbit, something is beginning to form. It's not a spaceship, not a colony. It's something stranger, simpler, a workshop, a place for making. The idea at first seems impossible. For all of human history, building meant foundation. Brick by brick, always downward first. Weight met resistance. Steel leaned on soil. But here, weight is an idea, not a rule. Up here, there is no down dot in microgravity. Things do not fall apart. They float into position. So engineers reimagine architecture, not in floors and beams, but in modules and magnets, not in cranes, but in choreography. Every part arrives separately, small, efficient, folded like origami. Then, through the slow dance of robotic arms, they unfold. A panel clicks into place with no crash, No dust, no echo. Just precision. Just grace. And this factory, suspended in orbit, shaped like a ring or a cluster of pods, begins to breathe. Its systems hum not with smoke, but with solar charge. Light, captured in long, reflective wings, flows into power cells. Machines awaken, not in haste, but in rhythm. You drift inside one of these imagined chambers. The air is recycled, filtered, quiet. No heat escapes, no rain falls. But in this stillness, something remarkable begins. Construction without return. Asterisk, there is a beauty to this kind of building. No bulldozers, no concrete mixers. Only the quiet ticking of coordination. Modules rotating into place, arms unfolding like metal flowers. Out here, precision replaces power. You watch a robotic welder stitch two panels together. The spark is not fire, but light, controlled, silent, contained in vacuum. A puff of vapor escapes, then vanishes into the void. Nothing leaks, nothing wasted. Every bolt, every gram, calculated with care. There are no delivery trucks, no scaffolding, no weather delays. The obstacles are stranger radiation, micrometeorites, thermal expansion. Heat and cold take turns like tides, cycling through the factory's skeleton. The machines adapt, stretching and curling, shielding and waiting. It is a living structure, responsive and awake. And what does it make? Sometimes it prints, not ink, but titanium. 3D printing becomes 3D layering in space. Molten droplets cool midair, forming intricate shapes impossible under Earth's pull. Beams for telescopes, components for satellites. Maybe even sections of ships that will never touch Earth. Other times, it recycles. Dead satellites, broken panels, abandoned tools. In space, trash floats forever, unless you teach machines to gather it, melt it down, and use it again. One orbit's garbage becomes another orbit's gold, and still the thought returns. Why build up here? The answer is not just about distance. It's about energy. Lifting things off Earth is hard, heavy, expensive, slow. But once you are already here, already among the stars, why not stay? Why not make what you need where you already float? You begin to see the dream forming, not of cities in the sky, but of systems, a web of quiet machines doing quiet work, orbital supply chains, autonomous refineries, fuel made from asteroid water, metals processed in vacuum, factories not in the clouds, but beyond them. And from these factories, possibility, not just for space missions, not just for science, but for something more. Asterisk, there is a beauty to this kind of building, no bulldozers, no concrete mixers, only the quiet ticking of coordination, modules rotating into place, arms unfolding like metal flowers. Out here, precision replaces power. You watch a robotic welder stitch two panels together. The spark is not fire, but light, controlled, silent, contained in vacuum. A puff of vapor escapes, then vanishes into the void. Nothing leaks, nothing wasted. Every bolt, every gram, calculated with care. There are no delivery trucks, no scaffolding, no weather delays. The obstacles are stranger radiation, micrometeorites, thermal expansion. Heat and cold take turns like tides, cycling through the factory's skeleton. The machines adapt, stretching and curling, shielding and waiting. It is a living structure, responsive and awake. And what does it make? Sometimes it prints, not ink, but titanium. 3D printing becomes 3D layering in space. Molten droplets cool midair, forming intricate shapes impossible under Earth's pull. Beams for telescopes, components for satellites, maybe even sections of ships that will never touch Earth. Other times, it recycles dead satellites, broken panels, abandoned tools. In space, trash floats forever, unless you teach machines to gather it, melt it down, and use it again. One orbit's garbage becomes another orbit's gold, and still the thought returns. Why build up here? The answer is not just about distance, it's about energy. Lifting things off Earth is hard, heavy, expensive, slow. But once you are already here, already among the stars, why not stay? Why not make what you need where you already float? You begin to see the dream forming, not of cities in the sky, but of systems, a web of quiet machines doing quiet work, orbital supply chains, autonomous refineries, fuel made from asteroid water, metals processed in vacuum, factories not in the clouds, but beyond them, and from these factories, possibility, not just for space missions, not just for science, but for something more, In this new spaceborne architecture, there is no skyline, only a void, and yet the emptiness is not absence, it is potential. Every frame of metal floating through space is a suggestion that we may live without limits, that we may build where. Once we only gazed, you picture the first orbital habitat, not a cramped station with blinking lights, but a slow-turning ring wide enough for trees to grow and water to ripple. Artificial gravity created through motion, a soft cycle of day and night programmed by orbit. Inside, people walk not in suits, but barefoot on soft ground, made from asteroid dust and recycled dreams. Their breath is borrowed from melted ice. Their warmth comes from filtered sunlight. Their sense of time, no longer tethered to Earth, stretches gently outward. Factories rise beside these habitats, not polluting, not roaring, but humming like bees in a hive of stars. One fabricates solar sails the size of cities. Another prints replacement limbs from metal powders and memory. A third assembles telescopes so vast they can read the starlight of distant planets for signs of water or life. Above all, you sense a quiet truth that building in the sky does not mean leaving Earth behind. It means giving Earth room to breathe. It means shifting the weight outward, not to escape, but to extend. To build in orbit is to reimagine home. Not a single place, but many. Not one sky, but all of them. And somewhere in this constellation of possibility, your mind floats, not afraid, not rushed, but full of soft wonder. Asteroids, out here, where no tree has grown and no river has flowed. You find yourself not in silence, but in question. The asteroid drifts beneath your gaze, gray, peated, ageless. A rock with no flag, no law, no voice. And yet, it waits. You think of all the tools you've imagined. Robots spinning through shadow. Machines pulling platinum from dust. Habitats rising from the bones of drifting stone. But now you ask, softly, like a whisper in a vacuum, what does it mean to take from something that cannot speak? On Earth, history has taught you the weight of extraction. Gold pulled from mountains. Oil from beneath ancestral lands. Forests leveled, oceans drilled. All in the name of progress. Space, it seems, offers a clean slate. No life to harm, no tribes to displace, no ecosystems to unravel. But is absence of protest the same as permission? The cosmos cannot shout, but that does not mean it consents. So you begin again, this time not as builder, but as listener. Asterisk, you drift a little farther now, not through distance, but through thought in this silent orbit. Where no wind stirs, you begin to wonder about ownership. Who can claim a thing that was never touched? Who can sell what no one ever built? Treaties exist, distant and earthbound, crafted by humans who have never stood among the stars. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 says no nation may claim a planet or moon. But companies now sketch maps of minerals, outline plans for profit, and set countdowns not just for rockets, but for returns. The law is a netcast from Earth into space. But what if the net tears? What if it never reached far enough? And still, the asteroid turns, slow, indifferent, perfect, not asking, not resisting, just spinning its story across millennia. Is it a resource? Is it a relic? Is it a sacred remnant of creation, or merely raw material waiting for purpose? There are no answers yet, only questions, and the weight of them is heavier than any gravity you've escaped. Asterisk, you drift through the silence of space, where no footsteps have ever been laid. Glint like ancient bones in a sleeping field, untouched, unclaimed, and yet desired. Each one holds treasure. But tonight, you ask a different question. Not how, but should. The dream of asteroid mining is dazzling. Metals, rare on Earth, lie exposed across cold surfaces. Water, ancient and pure, waits within. In these drifting worlds, the seeds of industry shimmer. The possibilities feel endless. But space is not empty of meaning, and not all that glitters should be taken. You float closer to a spinning rock, irregular, gray, dotted with craters. It doesn't look like a jewel, but it holds platinum enough to power technologies for decades. It holds nickel, cobalt, perhaps even the building blocks of fuel. Still, your thoughts linger on something else. This object has orbited the sun for billions of years, uninterrupted by desire. Who does it belong to? There are no fences here, no borders, no maps, no ownership documents. Space, legally, is governed by the Outer Space Treaty, a pact signed by nations to ensure that no celestial body is claimed as territory. But treaties are written on Earth, and desire tends to stretch the meaning of promises. You imagine a robot landing on this asteroid, arms extending, scooping, and slicing. Not with cruelty, but with purpose. Its work is quiet, efficient, unsentimental. There is no harm in metal on metal. But still, something stirs within you. The robot is not just taking rock. It's taking time, history, stillness. Because something cannot cry out, does not mean it cannot be harmed. You drift deeper into this thought. What is harm out here? Is it measured by noise, by damage, by imbalance? Or is it something subtler? A rupture in the silence, a rearrangement of a system that evolved without us. On Earth, mining leaves, scars, open pits, poisoned rivers, broken lands. It is not the same here. There are no forests to fell, no rivers to contaminate. No creatures will be displaced by drilling into an asteroid. So why the unease? Because harm is not only about ecology. It is also about relationship. You consider the indigenous stories from Earth, tales of mountains with spirits, rivers with memory, lands not owned but respected. These stories remind you that value is not always visible, that extraction is more than just technique, it is a choice, a way of being in the world. When we reach out into space, do we bring only our tools or also our hunger? You remember a quote you once heard, that humanity is good at solving problems, but not always at asking whether they are the right problems. We solved the challenge of reaching the moon. Now we solve how to build in orbit. But what are we building, and for whom? You imagine a future where factories orbit asteroids, where supply chains stretch across solar winds, where space becomes another warehouse. It is not a frightening future. It is orderly, efficient, clean. But is it wise? Wisdom listens before it acts. Out here, listening is harder. There are no voices, no protests, but the silence speaks too. It invites you to pause, to consider that not everything must be turned into profit. Some things, like stars or solitude, are precious because they are beyond usefulness. And yet, progress is not the enemy. You understand this. Resources mined in space could spare Earth's own crust. A kilogram of platinum from an asteroid could prevent the digging of hundreds of tons of soil back home. Solar panels built in orbit could beam power to the planet below, lighting homes without smoke. So maybe this is not a story of yes or no. Maybe it is a question of how. How do we extract without erasing, exploiting? Can we act like guests, even in places where there are no hosts? You remember that even on Earth, ethical mining has begun to grow, with stricter regulations, reclamation of land, partnerships with local communities. Perhaps space, unspoiled for now, can begin with ethics rather than react to their absence. You picture a mission briefing room, not just with engineers and investors, but with philosophers, poets, stewards of silence, not to halt progress, but to shape it with care. After all, what we build reflects what we believe. If we believe the universe is dead matter, to be carved and converted, then our machines will mirror that belief, fast, cold, precise. But if we believe the universe is a shared miracle, ancient and unfolding, then perhaps our machines will become gentler, not extractors, but partners. And maybe that's the true possibility of asteroid mining. Not just to gather matter, but to refine meaning. You return your gaze to the drifting rock. It spins slowly, indifferent to your thoughts. You reach toward it, not to take, but to feel, to be close. What might this rock teach you if you listen long enough? In its craters, stories of impact and survival. In its metals, the memory of stars that died to give birth to elements. In its silence, the reminder that not all things must speak to be heard. You breathe in, even here, in imagined vacuum. And you feel the weight of responsibility. Even in zero gravity, it presses gently against your chest. Perhaps the future depends not just on how well we build, but on how deeply we wonder. And so, as you drift through shadows and light, one question echoes softly in your mind. What kind of civilization do we become when we mine the stars? The stars. You drift now into the realm where beauty is stitched with risk. Orbit may look like peace, silent, shining, sublime, but it is no cradle. It is a place of fierce extremes, and every dream you build here must first survive. The first thing you notice is the sunlight. It arrives without filter, without atmosphere. One side of your body basks in searing heat, over 120 degrees Celsius, while the other freezes in black shadow. There is no breeze to carry warmth, no wind to cool you, just raw radiation flowing like invisible fire. This is the first challenge: thermal control. To mine in orbit, your machines must survive a world of wild opposites. Their circuits cannot melt. Their batteries cannot freeze. They must adapt, not once a season, but with every orbit in minutes. Then comes the silence, not peaceful, but isolating. When something breaks here, there is no mechanic around the corner. No tow truck, no technician, no rush order for parts. If a robotic arm jams while harvesting asteroid soil, it must fix itself, or fail in stillness. That's the second challenge: reliability in exile. Machines must think for themselves, detect faults, reroute systems, endure. Each one is a lone survivor, humming through vacuum, far from help. Now look closely at the space around you. It's not empty. It teems with debris, old satellite fragments, paint chips, splinters of past missions. Each one moves faster than a bullet, with enough energy to destroy. This is the third challenge: impact. A single strike from a pebble-sized fragment can end a billion-dollar mission. Shields must be light, yet strong. Paths must be charted with celestial choreography. And still, accidents happen. Then there is time. Or rather, its absence. Out here, your machines work constantly. There is no night, no coffee break, no downtime. Components degrade, not from overuse, but from relentless exposure to solar wind, to cosmic rays, to the slow breakdown of structure at the atomic level. This is the fourth challenge: aging in orbit. Even robots get old, and their parts tire under stars that do not sleep. Now consider human error, not from astronauts, but from Earth. A wrong command, a missed decimal, a moment's inattention can send a spacecraft veering, spinning, or drilling into dust too deep to return. This is the fifth challenge. Distance, a few seconds of delay, the time light takes to travel between worlds, makes real-time control a gamble. Your robots must decide alone. Can only watch dot, and even when nothing breaks. Success brings its own weight. Mining in orbit means managing material, storing it, sorting it, preventing it from drifting into chaos. Imagine powder-fine dust in zero gravity, a single puff of regolith that floats, clings, contaminates. Without gravity to pull it down, it drifts forever. Into cameras, into gears, into breathing systems. This is the sixth challenge. Containment. Then come the human questions. If you send people to manage these operations, what do they breathe? What shields them from radiation? What if something fails and there's no escape? Life support, not just for a moment, but for months or years. You breathe in slowly, imagining the complexity. None of these problems are insurmountable, but none of them are small. They require engineering that is not just smart, but wise. And that wisdom grows slowly, like crystal in still water. Already we take steps. Prototypes orbit Earth. Test landers practice anchoring on shifting rocks. Simulations map radiation fields, debris paths, thermal flux. Each challenge becomes a lesson, and each lesson builds the cathedral of possibility. One careful line of code, one tempered alloy, one heartbeat at a time. You imagine a future where every miner in orbit is a marvel, not because it is strong, but because it survives with elegance. It dances with danger. It listens before acting. It adapts, not fights. These machines, floating in the dark, are like coral in the reef, delicate, alive with pattern, shaped by their harsh world. And maybe in this dance with challenge, we learn something deeper, that creation in space is not about conquest, but about balance. The universe does not give freely, nor does it close its doors. It waits, patient, for those who learn its rhythms. As you watch the simulated swarm of robotic miners orbiting an asteroid, you see not domination, but harmony, a ballet of survival, a song of circuits and silence rising against gravity's old limits. You are reminded that nature, even in its most barren places, responds to respect. Perhaps the real challenge is not in orbit, but in ourselves, to build with reverence, to explore with care, to move forward not in haste, but in awe. And so you drift in this reflection, just as another question begins to form, floating gently toward the mind. What might we build up there? Not just to survive, but to dream. You sit quietly with the dust, not the dust of Earth, but the drifting, ancient fragments that orbit in silence, asteroids, loose stone, scattered metals, each one older than your planet, yet waiting for what comes next. There is no industry yet, no chimneys, no walls. But the plans exist, blueprints spun from light and math. They rest in servers, in minds, in dreams. And in them, the universe begins to shape something new. You picture the first orbital factory. It does not roar or shake the ground. There is no ground. It floats, silent, solar-powered, made from metals that once drifted freely. Its structure unfolds like origami in zero gravity, delicate and precise. Here, machines print machines. Circuits are etched by lasers. Panels align to sip sunlight. No trucks deliver supplies. The material comes from the rocks that float nearby. A mining bot returns, its limbs carrying asteroid dust. The dust is refined, atom by atom. Iron becomes beams. Silicon becomes sensors. Water, melted from frozen stone, becomes fuel. And perhaps one day, air. There are no humans on board. Not yet. But they are present in every screw, every line of code. The factory is a thought made physical, an extension of hands that never touch. You begin to feel it, a shift, not just in technology, but in possibility. Earth was our cradle, but not our only canvas. Factories in orbit mean more than profit. They mean freedom from gravity's toll. They mean building without burdening Earth. No more strip mines in forests. No more rivers choked with tailings. No more choosing between progress and preservation. The stars offer a new deal. But this future isn't certain. It depends on quiet things. Stable solar panels, autonomous repairs, smart logistics, patient funding. Persist through bureaucracy, budget cuts, and burnout. Still, it grows. You imagine the second factory, larger, linked to the first. Then a third, orbiting Mars, drawing power from twin suns in the thin Martian sky. One day, factories might drift like constellations, nodes in a web of work that never touches land. They build habitats, satellites, exploration ships. They print parts for telescopes larger than launch pads could ever allow. And all of it begins with dust, not sacred dust, not magic dust, just common material, patiently rearranged. And then you wonder, what else could we build? Not just tools, but homes. Not just engines, but sanctuaries. Could art hang in orbit? Could gardens bloom under starlight, roots held by artificial gravity? Could space be beautiful, not just functional. There's something humbling in the thought. Now, we imagine filling it, not with noise, but with design. Not with conquest, but with craft. And you begin to see it clearly, the ultimate, quiet revolution, to build where nothing grew. To shape where only silence reigned. To honor the cosmos, not with flags, but with balance. This future is not flashy. It won't arrive overnight. But like the drift of stardust, it accumulates, one orbit, one module, one solved problem at a time. You feel it settle in you, a sense of calm determination. Not all stories need urgency. Some need patience and poetry and plans written in sky blue ink, factories in orbit, built from dust, powered by light. Not science fiction, just the long breath of progress, finally exhaled. And so, as the stars rotate quietly above, you rest in the thought that the future may float.